All right, hello everybody. My name is Anthony Tellerico, and today I'm going to show you how to install Windows 10 ARM on the Raspberry Pi 3. So the first thing you're going to need is a Raspberry Pi 3 or 3B Plus, of course, and the other thing you're going to need, the next thing is going to be the Pi Pack. Drag it down to the screen. Which is going to be in a description, or in the description below. And I apologize, I'm already falling apart here. I was skiing all day and I really wanted to get this out tonight, so bear with me. The first thing I'd like to do is thank Terry Moore of MCCI Corp for getting the USB drivers stable and able to set up on this machine, because without him I probably wouldn't have been making this video. Secondly, there's Andre, Mario, there's a lot of people involved in this project, and I apologize if I'm forgetting any names that have been significant in the development of this, and there's been a whole lot of other people that have been doing things on the side as well. So thank you to everybody, and it's awesome to have a community like this that is working together to make this, or have this become the best that it can be. So anyway, once you go into the link in the description, you're going to get the Pi Pack. You're going to extract that to your desktop wherever you want to, and it's going to give you several files. So the first one you're going to want to go to would be the WOR folder and click on WOR, the application. So that is Windows on Raspberry Imager, and you're going to select your language, in my case English. I'm going to click next. Now you're going to want to plug in your drive. I already have mine plugged in. If you have not, you're going to need to plug it in and click that little refresh button right there. So I've already got mine right here, and yours will pop up if it did not before, if you had to plug it in after you had already loaded the app. And you're going to get a green checkbox down here every time that something goes right. Click next. Now it wants you to select the Windows image. So we're going to click on the image from the folder 17763. And that image is good, as you can see right there. Click next. Now our drivers. So this is going to be pi64.win. And the UEFI firmware, we're going to go to Raspberry Pi Package Master, binary, pre-built, and you always want the latest version anyway, but in this case you need to use it for the USB drivers from MCCI. So going to binary release, or binary pre-built release, you're going to click on that, and this one is not going to give you the green checkbox. This is good. And then you're likely going to want to use master boot record. You're going to want MBR and WinLib for how you're installing the image. You can save your configuration for later. That'd be up to you. As you can see, mine was already saved for that configuration. Click next. And because I already have everything set up on my end, I'm not actually, you know what, I will go through this and I will click install, because I have a drive in here that I can do this with. So I'm going to click install. One other thing while this is going, let's minimize that. Yep, you're going to get these popping up because it's creating the partitions. I should have put this up first. You always want to read the UELA, or the EULA, I'm sorry. Good God, I'm falling apart. I apologize. The End User License Agreement. So this is for MCCI's TrueTask USB ARM drivers. So this is what Terry Moore had put together, and it's for non-commercial use only, something you may want to go through or should go through, and that is in there as well. That should be done, as I listed it, read first before anything else. So after you've done that, you would go through everything that I just did here. So it's installing Windows, And I'm going to pause this and let it go until we get into the next part. Okay, so at the end of the installation, you're going to have a message that says the installation has been finished. At that point, you're going to take your SD card out, put it in the Pi, and go ahead and power that on. So let's do that right now. You might want to have a keyboard attached as well, or you should have a keyboard attached. You're going to hit escape when it goes into that setup, or into the splash screen. You're going to go into Device Manager, Raspberry Pi configuration, HyperDXE configuration. Make sure it's boot in EL1. It should be already by default. CPU clock is going to be set to don't override. Mine is not because I've already done this. You're going to set it to max. You're going to save that and go into your boot maintenance manager, go into boot options, change boot order, and make sure that you won't have that third option. Make sure that SD MMC on Broadcom SD host is first. And now, at this point, you would hit continue, save your changes, and I'm doing it a different way, which you will see why later. So that is now going to go into Windows. So what's going to happen here is you're going to have quite a while, I'd say at least 10 minutes maybe, if not longer. It could be even 20 minutes plus. It's going to run, it's going to say getting everything ready or setting up devices or whatever, and after a while it's going to say restarting. Very quickly that message will pop up, and at that point, whatever point that is, you're going to have a blank screen. It's going to go away. The computer will not actually restart, at least not in my case, and it probably won't in yours either. So when you have a black screen and you're no longer showing the Windows logo like we are right here, you're going to unplug the Pi, and that's where I'm going to return and show you what to do. Alright, so the screen has gone blank, so we're going to unplug the Pi or press our power button, whatever one you have, and we're going to reboot. And unfortunately I had the TV off there for a sec, but it would normally go right back to the splash screen and then continue to the Windows logo that you just saw there. So again, this one's going to go for a lot less time, but still at least a few minutes to several minutes, and you're going to end up at your Windows setup screen, and we will go from there. Okay, so this is the Windows setup. So you're going to select your region. This is all pretty basic. And these loading screens do take a moment, but they're not bad. So we're going to let that one go. All right, now you've got your keyboard layout. So mine would be US. We're going to click yes. You can add another layout if you'd like. I'm going to skip it. So it's going to let you connect to a network. If you were plugged in, which I'm not at the moment, you can do that. I'm going to hit skip for now. And the best part really is to get through the Windows setup process to begin with. You can connect later, you can do whatever. Now it's going to ask you, are you sure? I'm going to say no here. Now you've got the Windows 10 license agreement. Alright, I'm going to type in my name. You can add a password if you'd like. I'm not going to. If you don't want a password, you can click next and it will skip that step. Would you like to make Cortana your personal assistant, or Cortana, however you say it? I'm going to decline. And you can pick do more across your devices with activity history. I'm going to say no. I like things very basic in Windows. Alright, so you can click on or off any of these depending on what you want. Location, services, anything. We'll just, for the sake of demonstration, hit yes for all of them. And that's the end of your setup. So now it's going to say, hi, we're getting everything ready for you. And this takes several minutes for it to go through. At the end of this, you're going to be at your desktop. And yeah, it's not kidding when it says it's going to take several minutes. On a Pi, you can expect that. But once you're at your desktop, at the end of this, you are done. If all you want is an SD card installation. If you want to have a hard drive to boot from via USB, we will continue from there after this. But if all you were looking for is a boot from an SD card, then you are done, and congrats, your Raspberry Pi now has Windows 10 running a final version, not an insider version, which is great. So if you're interested in booting from a hard drive, continue watching and we'll go from there. I'm going to let this finish the setup before we get to that. Alright, I almost forgot one very crucial step of this process for people who are installing this on an SD card or on a hard drive, which is to install your video drivers. So I just put a flash drive in my computer with the folders from the Pi Pack, which are, or the folder I should say, from the Pi Pack, which is the video folder. That's going to be your GPU drivers. These are render only. They're a sample driver. They're nothing great just yet, but it's a great start in the right direction for where we need to go to get some good GPU drivers for these. So definitely something you want to install, as well as DirectX. So I'm going to go into here. This is my flash drive. I'm going to go into video. Click on this folder. And we're going to go to ROS, and that is a setup information, an INF file. Right click on it. Click install. We're going to click yes here. You're going to click install this driver software anyway. The driver is not signed. So it's going to give you that warning. And once you've done that, you're going to click on ROS Reg, right click it I mean. We're going to run that as an administrator. And once again, click yes. It's going to come up with that window, and your drivers are installed for the GPU. And the last thing you'll want to do is connect to the internet. So I'm going to do that right now because you're going to want that for your DirectX setup. So the other file that I copied over here, I copied over the video folder and DX web setup. When you first connect to the internet, you're going to get this asking you whether or not you would like other PCs and devices on this network to discover you. I'm going to click yes. And again, as I've kind of said here, this is not the fastest setup by any means, so it is a little laggy. As you could see there, it took a minute to figure out what it was doing. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and click DX Web Setup. Click yes. And we're going to let that load. It's going to take a minute here, but it will pop up. All right, so here we are. I accept the agreement. You can choose to install the Bing bar or not to. I do not, and on top of that, I use Firefox for a browser on this anyway. It runs pretty well. I'd say as well or better than Edge, and definitely better than Chrome runs on here. But anyway, it's going to go through here. It's going to ask you initializing. In fact, I just got this. The operation completed successfully. That is for the GPU driver. That actually took longer than it did last time because I'm trying to multitask here. So there we go. You're going to click next. And now at this point, it's going to download. So you have to be connected to the internet. It's going to download all of the updates for DirectX. And at the end of this, it's going to ask you to finish. What you want to do at this point, because you've now installed the GPU and you've installed DirectX, you're going to want to reboot your computer after this is finished. And at this point now, if you are on an SD card only, you are done. Welcome to Windows 10 on the Pi. If you want to go for an SSD, you can follow the rest of my instructions, and from here it's pretty easy to get everything on a hard drive to boot from. Whether you're an SSD or a regular hard drive, it doesn't really matter. It's pretty easy from here on out to get everything running on one of those and to boot from them. So we'll continue this video shortly, but once again, once this installation is finished, you just want to finish it off. Click next, get out of the installer, and reboot, and everything will be good. All right. Okay, so you've installed everything now. You've got your SD card running, and you want to boot onto a hard drive of some kind, right? Whether it's a hard disk drive, solid state drive, whatever the case may be. Here's what you're going to want to do all of that. we're going to go back into the WOR, just like you did at the beginning. Go through your language, and at this point we're going to plug in our drive. I have here a solid state drive, and I've got this serial ATA adapter, so I'm going to plug that into USB, and I've already got stuff on that, so ignore it. I'm going to refresh this so it comes up here and select it. I'm going to select my image for Windows 10. Same exact image we used last time. Go to Next, select my drivers, same exact thing we did. So as you can see here, it's very repetitive at this point. Select your UEFI firmware, binary, pre-built, latest release. And we're going to go through this entire thing the same way we did last time. The next page is going to be the configuration page, and you hit install. And once you've gone through all of that, you're going to have a hard drive with the same stuff that your SD card has on it. It's going to say the installation is finished, and you know, it's the exact same setup that you did to begin with, only you're going to be using a hard drive now. So I'm going to go over to the Pi with the hard drive, and we're going to show how to boot off of that. Although since this loaded finally, we're going to click Next. I'd save my configuration, so the exact same thing. And then at this point you would click Install, and that would be it. So let's go over to the Pi now and show you how to boot it up with the solid state drive. Okay, so at this point we have now installed everything the exact same way on a solid state drive. We're now going to, and I'll make this part short, I'm not going to do the exact same thing that I just did already because it is literally the exact same setup, and I'm going to show you how to make the UEFI boot into your hard drive as opposed to the SD card. And we can go from there and showing you how to do a couple quick little things with Windows to make it a clean installation. So you're going to want to turn on the Raspberry Pi. Of course, have your keyboard plugged in. When it comes up to the splash screen, you're going to hit Escape, and you're going to go to Boot Maintenance Manager, Boot Options, change your boot order. Mine is already correct. So that top one there, it says UEFI Subtronics X850. You might see Seagate or USB hard drive, whatever the case may be. That's going to be your hard drive. These two, the SDMMC and the UEFI shell, always want to go down. So you can hit plus or minus. So if I want to make that go down, I'd hit minus. If I want to make it go up, I hit plus. You're going to make sure that your SSD or your hard drive, whatever you're using, is going to be at the top. And then you're going to hit F10 to save it, hit Y to confirm the changes, commit changes and exit, escape, escape, and now you're going to go to continue. Now it's going to go into Windows. And this is going to go through the exact same setup process that you went through before. Once Windows is set up, we'll come back and we'll get to our desktop. So we are at our desktop. Yours is going to look a little bit different from mine, only because I've set mine up already the way I'd like. Now you're going to need to reset up your video driver, your GPU, and the DirectX the same way I showed you before on this, because you're now running it on a different hard drive. So to get rid of what you don't need on your SD card, you're going to do a couple of things. One, we're going to go into File Explorer. And you're going to go to whatever your SD card is called. It's probably going to be called Windows. In fact, it definitely should be. because you still have Windows on the SD card. So you would right click, format, and then you would just go through a quick format. You can name it whatever you want, and you would click start. I click close because I've already done that, and it would just get rid of Windows on the SD card. So now you have additional storage here. Additionally, you're going to have another drive that says boot, a second one there from your SD card, which you cannot get rid of because you need that to boot into UEFI and get to Windows. However, you can hide it from my computer if you want it to look more clean. So you're going to go down to where your SD card is. Disk 0 is going to be your primary that you're running on. Disk 1 is going to be your SD card. So where I have SD card here, or I'm sorry, where I have boot here, I would click change drive letter and paths. There's nothing showing up in mine, but you're going to be showing a drive right here. You can click on that, click remove, and it's going to give you a prompt. You would hit OK, and that would now make it so that when you are in this screen, it's only going to show you your storage, which is the SD card, as well as Windows. So it's identical to a traditional PC. And there you have it. You're now running Windows. You can boot into it on a hard drive or a solid state drive, and it's quite a lot of fun. I'm trying to figure out what to do with it still, but there are so many uses for this, especially in other countries, as Terry Moore has mentioned on the Pi64 discourse site that is set up on WordPress. There are so many different uses for this for people all around the world. It's not a worthless kind of hacking project, so to speak, but it's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to figure out all sorts of fun things to do with this. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.